Okay. All right. So I'll just do a little introduction for so that the people who are watching this on YouTube know what we're doing here. So, all right. So my name is Jesse Switters. I'm the education coordinator here at the Duluth Art Institute. And today our professional development session is going to be communication and content creation with Swim Creative. So I have today with us, we have Jordan Woods and David Sadowski. Would you guys be able to introduce yourselves really quick?
Absolutely. So my name is David Sadowski. I'm a partner and brand strategist, brand director at Swim Creative. I've been in the industry for about 24 years now, and I've had a lot of experiences working with everything from individuals trying to get a startup going all the way to a multi-million-dollar organization. So, and no matter what I've learned all along the way, they face the same challenges, and so I really help to guide them through that process.
And my name is Jordan Woods. I have not been doing this quite as long as David. I graduated from the University of Minnesota Duluth with a degree in marketing and a master's of business administration. I have a real passion for marketing. I've been doing social media work for the last 5 years now. And then recently started doing more copywriting for Swim. So anything writing related. I also have a small business, a small videography business on the side.
All right, wonderful. So this is part of our ongoing professional development series. So today's specific series, we are going to be discussing communication strategies for artists to use in their professional lives. We're going to be talking a little bit about traditional communication, and then contemporary social media practices will be highlighted as well. It's going to be a focus on content creation and engagement. And then again, for anybody that signed up for the live session, there will be an opportunity to have some one-on-one support outside of this session to focus on anything that was specific, more specific than what we're going to be talking about today during the presentation. So I turn it over to both of you, and we are listening and have our pencils and pens out ready to take some notes.
Great. We can go to the agenda. So what we will go over today is we're first going to talk a little bit about branding. So branding is a big part of what we do. We will cover a little bit about what is a brand, but I'm going to go through a few different exercises to help get you and the mindset of how to get your brand into the right direction. And following that, Jordan will take on the social media, where he will cover the organic content strategy, best practices for different platforms, talk about a little bit about hashtags, social calendars, as well as paid social. And so we will cover a lot of ground. And so we will start with that. And with the first slide, I just want to cover the bases to cover what is a brand. And now some people know this very well, but I think it's good a reminder. Say that brand is a meaning, a feeling, and understanding that's associated with an organization. I also like to say that the phrase, it's not what you say it is, it's what they say it is. It's what other people say about you or your organization and how you make them feel. And it's definitely not just about logos and colors. It's about making sure that your entire, everything about you is working consistently across all different mediums. And when you are thinking about what your brand is all about, you want to make sure that your purpose and your mission and your values are all the same, and you want to make sure anyone who's associated with you share those same values as you do. You want to make sure that and what will happen then is that you will then attract those customers or the people who buy your art that also share those same values. Now, with that, with your internal values, also your external marketing has to fit that, because it's really a bad thing to say and promise one thing in your external marketing, but when they meet you, it's completely different experience. And so you want to make sure that that's all working together. And so therefore, in the end, that your customer's experience is all now working together so that you and your people can feel who you're all about. The customers are feeling that when they interact with you, and also your external marketing is working with it as well. So to summarize, we want to really cover why you create the art. Why is it really important for you, and what is at the heart of the art that you create? And also, you want to create a sense of differentiation. So it's like, how are you different from other artists? There are many wonderful artists out in the world, but you are wonderfully yourself as well. So we want to make sure that when you're developing your brand, that we are getting the best of yourself be represented. So how is a brand built? So first, we're going to start this off. I'm going to do a little exercise, or do a little covering about the process that we go through. First, we do a lot of research. We really look at your why you do what you do. Take a look at your audience, really understand who they are, understand your competition. So knowing how you fit within as compared to what they do. What are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So SWOT analysis, as well as differentiation. What sets you apart from everyone else? From there, we'll do a discovery. So what we do is we work with people, and we will talk through with them what all their challenges are, how they envision themselves, how they envision their brand to be. And from that, we're able to create mood boards and create inspiration to really fit a lot of the way that you describe yourself. From that point, we'll do a lot of brainstorming, collaboration. We'll sketch and write a lot of the content, as well as any logos, artwork, really trying to make it all work together. We present it back to the clients. Everything that we do, we're very proud of the work we do, but sometimes every now and then there's some revisions. So we work back and forth and collaborating with the client, all so that in the end we can create the final product.
All right, so I really like the way that you've laid that out there. Just out of curiosity, how long does that process generally take when you work with someone on something like that, defining all
It,
that?
it can last, it depends. If it's a large organization, sometimes it can take 6 months to a year, but if it's a one person, you can get through it in about a month or two. So it all depends on the amount of people that you need approvals from. So finally, we create a collection of materials that produce a cohesive experience associated with your company, product, or service. And so again, marketing is changing on a constant basis. In fact, I'm learning all kinds of new things that are on the horizon that we all need to worry about. But I'm not going to cover those right now, but we'll stick to what a lot of people know already of brand strategies, logos, websites, advertising campaigns, videos, billboards, commercials, radio spots, business cards, brochures, the swag you hand out, murals, pins and banners. And that's just a short list of all the things that we create as an organization. And so we'll try to cover some of these, as many of these as we possibly can. So I'm going to start with a little quick branding exercise. What I would like the people to do who are listening, I'd like you to create a list of 5 adjectives that describe your art. And I'd like you to take if you want to pause this video for a few minutes, and just to take a few minutes, just to take about 5 adjectives. And if you're having a hard time thinking about what those are, even think about a person that you can think about that best represents what your brand is about, and how would you describe them? So from now on, I want you to pause the video for a few and write down a few of those adjectives, so that as we go through the next slide, you have those in mind as you're thinking about what we're about to talk about. Okay, now that you've written those down, what we like to do at SWIM is it's called an archetypal branding process. And so this is a wheel of all the different types of personalities that are out there. So this is really based off of psychology and Carl Jung, who developed this as a way of organizing stories throughout the time of history. And with these stories, there's always these different types of characters that keep popping up throughout each of these stories. And what we found too is that brands also have these personalities as well. And so what we want to do is kind of find where you fit within this spectrum, because a lot of times your competitors might be a little more funny and gestury, while you might be a little more thoughtful and sage like. And so, which is both okay, and they both have their target audiences. And so, just finding out what is your what is your personality and what makes you stand out. From there, also, when you look at your list of adjectives, you want to think about the fonts that you're going to use, and each font has its own personality. So I just use the term of Salvador Dali, and just showing how all the different ways that can be represented. The script fonts can be a little more personable and or even whimsical. Or if you want to be taken a little more seriously, you want to use a sans serif font that's very geometric. Or if you want to even to have a little more fun, you can have ones that have a little more character, like with some serifs or maybe italicized. So, but there's millions of fonts to choose from, and so it's like I wanted to necessarily pick the font that's the most famous right now. I'd pick the one that just feels right for what who you are and what you're all about.
What I think is really cool about that list there is that every single font there, I kind of almost read it in an accent, and it's weird how that my brain makes those connections just from how it's laid out. It's the same word, but
Mm-hmm.
like, reads even in my brain differently just based on what it looks like.
Yep, and that is the amazing thing about fonts, is that they each have their own personality, just like you said, and that's why when we design and we pick our fonts very carefully to make sure it's giving the feelings that we want to get across. So it's very great that you pick up on that. And then for color, we even use a bit of a color psychology to get in the mindset of thinking about who we want it to be. And so even as you look at your adjectives, if you look at this list and you can see which of the colors really help stand out a little bit more, that to kind of give that the personality that you're looking for. And so it just allows you to take that full spectrum of the color that the world gives us, and allows us to have a little more focus on what would be the most likely color choices that can be able to get across the color palette that you would like to choose. Now, the colors can range from all over the board, but also it's like not only do you want to pick the different colors, but also the different hues too. So if you look on the right, or I'm sorry, on the left, it's a little more desaturated, so it's a little more contemporary. But if you want to be a little more lively, you want your hues to be much more vibrant. And so so even as you're picking your colors, the colors can change the personality, even just as you add different colors to the pinks or the blues or whatever colors you choose. And all in the end, what you want to do then is come up with one color palette. And as you can see with this color palette, what I like to do is then take those adjectives that you have and then assign a color to them, and then try to get the hues to really line up with one another so that they work as a unit and they work really clean together. And so it's it's a good way of being able to tie in your adjectives or your attributes of you and your art as to your brand. Now, when it comes to logos, now traditionally artists have used their signature as their logo, and these are, especially the Picasso font is a very famous. He basically used it as a logo, as well as Salvador Dali, as well as Leonardo da Vinci. But even in today, if we go to the next slide, people will still use there's a wider variety of types of logos that people are willing to use. Naturally, those artists didn't have the opportunity to use digital aspects of it, but there's still many artists will still use their signature as their logo, or even add some elements to it. But you don't have to stick strictly to that. There are a lot of organizations that will use lots of color, and because if you want to be known as being very lively and very vibrant, using a lot of color along with your font, you want to make sure that that it gives it that sense of life. But you don't want too much going on, so just be careful. It is very tempting, I've found, for many artists to add a lot of symbolism and a lot of elements to it. But what happens is that when the logo gets smaller, it's a lot harder to read or understand what's on it. And now with cell phones, that's why you're seeing a lot of logos nowadays become very simple, uberly simple, much like the Walker logo that you see on the far right. Is so that it's because that when you're on your phone, you want to be able to read it. It's a much smaller text, and so that's that's why you want to think about all the different uses that you're going to have for your logo. Now, the Walker's thing like art museums do tend to be a little more simpler because they want the art to stand out, not the logo. They want their logo to be a little more subdued. So if you look at the next slide, the Minneapolis Institute of Art is an example where once upon a time they had a very lively logo that had a lot going on, but they really simplified it because they want the art to be the hero of their organization and not the logo. And so that's why you see a lot more simplification, especially within the arts industry, of how they want to create what their logo is. Now, you have to make the choice of your own how you want to be represented. Now, if you see yourself not so serious and a little more eclectic, then by all means, use a lot of color, use some more fun fonts and really, push the boundaries a little bit more. But if you, definitely see yourself as a little more of a laid back individual who just wants your art to shine, maybe you can consider using a look that's a little more simplified.
Something that I've heard before when deciding on what your logo is to think about where it's going to be seen and how you're going to use it as well. So if you were an organization or a brand that was going to make water bottles or pens and you want your logo on there, sometimes a super busy logo isn't going to look very good when it's that small.
Yep. And the other side of that too is that the printing can get very expensive as well. And so that's the other thing part about it too, is that even if you do have a complex, so you want a simplified version of it so that it's much easier to print on there. I mean, not only for legibility, like you mentioned, but also for cost, because if they have to use a lot of colors on it, the cost, especially if they're screen printing it, it can get pretty costly. Now there is a lot more digital printing that's people are able to do now. So it's less of a concern now, but it is something to think about in the back of your mind, is someday you might want to see screen print it. And if there's a lot of colors, it's going to be very costly. But yeah, exactly. You do want to think about all the items that it's going to go on. Now, exercise 2, I want to get a little bit more into your brand promise, or we're going to touch in on messaging. And so I like to use this phrase at the end of any session, that when I work with people, when they're really thinking about who they are. But it's a really simple sentence, but I found that it's a very difficult sentence to fill out. So what you want to do is fill out your name, or the name of your organization is the only blank, in this case, artist. If maybe you want to call yourself something completely different, which is all okay. But you want to put yourself in a category of what you are. But you are the only blank that what. And this is the really key part of it. What makes you different from everyone else? And from that, you're able to kind of get your head around where you fit in the art world and what makes you different. And that allows you to now start to concept or start to brainstorm different lines that can fit your brand promise of who you are. So we go to the next slide. We want to make sure what your brand promise is. It's the super simplification of you, who you are. So we've taken all this information of your organization and tried to narrow it down in the least amount of words possible. So it's got to be simple. It's got to be credible. You got to be able to back it up, but it's also got to be memorable. So something that when people aren't with you, they can still know what your brand is and what you're all about. You want to make sure your brand promise is focused on the audience. It's what you promise them. It's not so much what you stand for, but more of what they can expect each time that they are with you. It should be address what their touch points. It should be and anytime that they interact with you, and it should be kept every single time. So you should be consistent with your brand as much as possible. And at the same time, you should have some sort of emotional appeal if possible. Now, if you are a little more academic of a brand, then you can skew a little more or less emotional. But should be something that really touches people in the heart. Should be actionable, something that can be tied to specifically to action, but it's also should be tied to some sort of that can be tied into some of your social responsibility. So it allows you to really understand, okay, what nonprofits should I, help support? Or because of this, what kind of events can I be tied to, or different organizations can I collaborate with? And so by creating this brand promise with social responsibility, it can really also help you figure out how to create more collaboration so that you can get your name out there a little bit more. And some examples of brand promises that are out there. Some of them end up becoming taglines, but sometimes they don't. What Apple is think different. So they've always been about trying to create something that's different, but also encouraging that creative aspect in people. Walmart all is about saving money and living better. So they've all been about having a lower price, but it's also to encourage people to have a better life. BMW is the ultimate driving machine. And as you can see, all these are very memorable lines. Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Nike, bringing inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. So that's a little more of a longer one, but it has a lot of meaning to it. And really, it takes a stance for who they're all about. Starbucks is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one cup, or one person, one cup, in one neighborhood at a time. And Allstate is you're in good hands. So, and some of these become taglines, but really this is what their brand promises are.
Definitely, those are really good all across the board from the top of the company all the way down to the employees. I know that whenever I'm setting up programming for the Duluth Art Institute, I always like to just quickly go to our webpage and just read our statement that's on there. It's the Duluth Art Institute enriches daily life with dynamic, innovative visual arts programming that upholds excellence and promotes inclusive community participation. So that stuff is really helpful across the board too. So it's something that that really is going to matter for a long time when you create that.
Yep, and if you can keep on with that, each of your touch points with your customers, and just be consistent with that, people will be able to, basically when they hear that, they'll go, oh, that makes sense. I totally get that. So, okay. And then, so, oh, this is mistitled, but this is, oh no. And so in the end, you want your brand statement to be, what do your customers expect from me? What does your art stand for? And what makes me unique? So it's, so that's kind of narrowing everything down into what you want it to stand for. And now finally, the last thing you want to know when you're coming with your brand, you want to really know about your customers. And so this is a little bit of a longer process for us. So it takes a lot of research, but just want to get a little bit of an insight into what we do in order to create this. So what you want to do is really think about one person that would buy your art. What are they like and what do they do? And so if you think about broad categories, it's really harder to understand how to create messaging for them. But if you can only think of one person that you're going to talk to, it really helps you create your messaging, because you can almost create your communication as a conversation with that one person. And no matter who reads it, the right people will be able to take whatever messages you give, and they'll be able to understand that and be able to relate to you as an artist. And so what I like to then do is then take all this information and then even create a mood board and even try to think about who this person is. So imagine like the person on the far left is your target audience. What do they like to do? And so I just did a generalization just to put something together. But imagine this person likes to spend time with their family, or they like to go spend time in the outdoors, going kayaking. Maybe they drive a Subaru. Maybe they're into Taylor Swift and own a Australian Shepherd. Maybe their style within their homes is a little bit more eclectic. Sometimes I'll even add in what is their clothing style. What is what type of food would they be interested in? Really try to think about all these parts of their personality, so that you can really get that sense of who you're speaking to. So when you are promoting yourselves, you already have a sense for the type of person that they are and what they might be interested in, being able to put your messages into the right locations to reach your target audience. And so that's, and then finally, you also want to really think about your website. So that is going to be one of the first opportunities to reach people. And there are many different ways that artists can put their website together. One, on the far left, you can be just an online gallery, which is just really promoting your work and showing that in a very unique way, but also in a way that's very artistic. But also many times, especially in smaller communities, people want to know their artists. So that's why when you look at the middle option, when you see the Renee Hiltz is showing herself and giving out her personality and what she stands for and putting that on the forefront. And that can be important to a lot of people too. But if you're not as comfortable as putting yourself out there, it's perfectly okay to just let your work show as far as the first sample. And then you can take it even a step further and just even come up with lines at the very beginning, like "simply beautiful." So she's really taken a stand for what her art is all about. So it's very simple, but it has a lot of character to it. And so it's so that's another way that you can really look at your website. But the main thing is that you want your artwork to really be the hero, and almost treat it like it's an online gallery. And so with that, I will pass things over to Jordan, and he will talk to you a little bit more about social media.
Yeah, thanks, David. So we're gonna just jump right into social media, kind of a nice segue from websites into more digital marketing stuff. So we're gonna start with just a few basics of social media. So social media is more than likely going to be a crucial medium for artists to express themselves and promote their work. That being said, there are some key things to keep in mind when using any social media platform. These things are all pretty self-explanatory, but we'll just kind of run through them. First one, be yourself. That's, again, self-explanatory. You're pretty awesome. Don't try to copy others because you see that they generate a lot of attention or get a lot of likes, a lot of views, things like that. If you try to post something trendy, obviously keep it within your brand, stay true to yourself, kind of like what David was saying, just stick with that brand, stick with that message that you developed. Next one is be kind. Social media can be scary. There's a lot of negativity on there. Try to combat that. Just be nice. Try to work away from that kind of negativity. Next is tell a story. So again, sticking with your brand, show your audience how you got to where you are today. Really focus. People want to see that. People want to see the start to where you are. So even if you have an embarrassing video of you painting at 2 years old, people want to see that. Let's promote that. Next one, social media does not always have to be perfect. There really is no perfect social media post. We can give you best practices to generate as much attention as possible, but it's ever changing. As David was saying, marketing is ever changing, and social media is kind of a catalyst of that. It is always evolving, and so there is no one perfect social media post that'll stay relevant for more than a day or two. That's only going to get faster and faster as things kind of move on. So don't try too hard. Don't focus too hard. There's not going to be that one perfect opportunity, but as we're going to talk about here in a little bit, there are some best practices to make it as the best it can be. So now we're going to jump into some organic content strategy. So when we talk about organic, that is unpaid. So basically downloading Facebook, making an account, starting to post. And the same with Instagram. Don't need to pay anything for it. It's just going to be the strict platform itself. So first, we're going to jump into some content pillars. So these are the type of posts we like to produce. Within each of these four pillars, there are a couple or a bunch of different avenues you could go. These are the four main pillars that's what I'm kind of like to stick with. So the first one is inspire. So this would be motivating your audience to consider your art and make them feel inspired, curious, or energized. This is basically building awareness. So these are like your main art pieces that you're going to throw out there just to help get awareness, make people stop scrolling like, ooh, what is that? I want to know a little bit more. That's going to be your inspiration. The next one is to educate your audience, show and tell all about your process and what drives you. So for example, this Instagram post on the right is from my friend Cody. She's a wedding photographer, and she's educating her audience about how to choose your wedding party. That may be a question people ask, and she has the answer right there. So people might want to read that to learn a little bit more. Next one is to entertain. This is showcasing interesting aspects of your art as well as your personality. We're going to talk a little bit more about this one later when we talk about video, when we're talking TikToks, Instagram Reels, things like that. This is where you can really show your personality, get that entertainment, and use this as, I hate to use the word filler content, but it kind of is, to just kind of put a bunch out there and see what sticks. And one of the last ones, one of the more important ones, is take action. So what do you want your audience to do? This is giving your audience specific call to actions, helping them get more information about your art and potentially close deals if you're trying to sell your art via social media. This will help. You can do this by linking blogs, engaging in lead generation, promoting events that you're going to go to, things of that nature. For example, this picture on the right is my friend Cece. She's, again, another wedding photographer, and she's promoting her blog, which some people might read and realize, hey, I want to book with Cece. She seems like a great person. So making the audience take action with your posts. That's what this pillar is all about. All right, now we're going to jump into some content strategy. So using those four pillars, we're going to jump into what to do with the four pillars. So be consistently posting. You want to stay relevant. That's the main goal here. And again, social media is ever changing. And even 5 years ago, ish, whatever, you didn't have to post every day to stay relevant because people weren't posting as much. Now people on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the major platforms are posting every day, sometimes multiple times a day. So in order to stay relevant, you're going to also have to consistently post. People who are following you for a reason. So give them the content they want using those four pillars. Push peer interaction. This one can be a little awkward, especially when you're starting. This one essentially is going to your friends and saying, hey, can you comment on my most recent post? Or, hey, can you share my most recent post? And because you're starting off with you, then you're going to share it to your friends, and they're going to share it to their friends, and it's going to keep blowing up until you eventually hopefully go viral, or you eventually get to a point where you have that consistent following from your friends' cousins, whatever. Next one, we're going to use people with more followers to amplify content. So for this one, if you have friends or people who are influencers or have a fair amount of followers or have clout, as the kids say, you're going to use these people to kind of go back to pushing peer interaction. You're going to ask them to share or to comment on your stuff, and then their friends who have a million other friends will see it, and it'll hopefully get more engagement. So all these are going to go back to focusing on getting more engagement, getting more likes, follows, things of that nature from these specific strategies. Next one would be working with local businesses or other artists. So this would be kind of a tit for tat situation. So if you can see Woods Creek Productions, that's my videography business. The post in the middle here, I did a wedding at the Knife River place. I worked with them a little bit and was like, hey, I'll do a post for you if you comment and share it. So they did. They commented, thank you so much for the shout out. I tagged them. We both got a little bit of extra engagement for that. So really, if you just work with other artists or work with businesses that might promote your own art, that's a huge thing into gaining that engagement. The next one is engaging with your audience. This one is super duper important. When people comment on your Facebook, Instagram, whatever post, comment back. Say thank you. Thanks for the comment. Or if someone asks a question, respond. Obviously, if someone shoots you a direct message or a personal message, respond to that. Just stay on top of things. And platforms will use their algorithms to reward content creators who do this. So if you keep engaging and engage quickly with your comments and direct messages, they will put you higher in the algorithm and boost your post a little bit. And the last one is a little bit more Facebook oriented. So this is participate in groups. Facebook has a lot of groups, so you can join other artists who have similar styles or similar objectives, and you can talk to each other and promote each other and focus on getting that engagement for everybody. So everyone's really in the same boat. Everyone's trying to get that, get the likes, get the engagement. If you all work together, it'll make things a whole lot easier.
Yeah, just something like on a personal note, from my experience with participating in groups, being a freelance illustrator, I have to say that almost all of my jobs kind of sprung from a group ecosystem that started in like 2013 and kind of formulated into another group. But just those connections I made by consistently talking and hanging out with fellow designers and stuff, I've had jobs sent my way that they couldn't take on. Other people just word of mouth of knowing my specialty and being like, "Hey, I'm not a guy who does that, but I do know a guy who does." That kind of community has been huge for me. So participating in groups has been a big part of what my artistic journey and me getting, illustration clients and connecting with other artists. So it can go a long ways just kind of hanging out with like-minded people.
100%. That's kind of how I got my start in wedding videography. Is I was on a wedding videography group, and I was interested in it and didn't know how to like make the first leap into getting my first real wedding. And some videographer canceled one day, and I was available, so I was like, I'll take it that next day. And here we are a couple of years later, and everything's going well. So it's all about who you know within those groups and acting on it, basically. All right, now we're going to jump into some recommendations, kind of bouncing off of those strategies. So internal recommendations, these are things that you can do, that you can control from within your own self, your own business. Video-based content, I had kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. This is for the most part, your TikToks, your Reels, Facebook and Instagram Reels, things like that. These are going to get far more engagement than just your standard social posts. So these are pretty important. And again, we'll talk about it a little bit more later on too, but just creating content that is relevant to your brand, that people want to engage with, that people want to know more about. They'll click on your site and maybe give you a follow from there. So video-based content is pretty important that you can control. Hype up your events before and after the event. So if you're going to participate in an art exhibit or any other art event, make sure people know about it. Make sure your followers know about it so they can either go visit you or promote it themselves. And then after the event, make sure to thank everyone. Thank everyone who showed up. Thanks to the people who shared your stuff. And if you have any success stories from it, make sure to post it. Next one is posting stories and making use of stickers. Instagram and Facebook stories are pretty important and easy to do. Stickers are just little things you can slap on it to give it a little bit more character. Ask questions to the audience. These again kind of focus more on stories. You can ask basically whatever question you want and get as much engagement as possible. This again goes into the algorithm side of things, where if you ask a question and you get more engagement, that's Facebook and Instagram are going to like that, so they're going to boost you up. Showcase your strengths, obviously. Make sure you're promoting yourself in what you can do and not necessarily what you can't do. And then try to create content themes such as watercolor Wednesdays, or that was just something I threw together. But just create something that with a consistent theme that you can for sure have one post a week or one post a month or whatever that your audience is almost expecting, like is ready for that particular post. Now we're going to jump into a little bit more external, so outside of your realm, so you can share news stories and links that are relevant to you. Again, as David was kind of saying, stick with your brand. Make sure you know what that is so you can really hammer that home and not stray too far. And then make sure you check your own tagged photos and ask to repost. So if someone takes a picture with your art or has your permission to take pictures of your art, ask if you can repost it. Ask if it can be on your story as well. Collaboration, partner with other businesses. We kind of talked about this a little bit. So ask other artists for cross promotion. Just all work together. Collaborate on giveaways. Be careful with that one. Instagram doesn't always love giveaways. They scan for that particular word, and sometimes can really hurt engagement. So maybe don't use that word, and maybe use something a little just a little bit different, but just be a little cautious with that one. And again, joining Facebook groups. And then for inspiration, reference other artists for what they can do. Everyone kind of helps each other out. Now we're going to jump into some best practices here for specific social media platforms. Facebook, 4 to 6 times a week for posts. That's a rough number, but try not to post more than 1 time a day. People are going to sometimes get annoyed if they see 15 posts in one day. That's kind of ridiculous. Make sure there's a nice balance of posts to keep people engaged between videos, carousels, reels, things like that. Make sure to post questions and encourage discussions. So just basically helping with that engagement, making sure people like and follow your posts. Tag locations and businesses. That'll help with the algorithm. That'll pinpoint you to a place with potentially other artists. And request for your followers to share their experiences and photos, and make sure to tag you in that process. Instagram is pretty similar to Facebook. I mean, they're both owned by Meta. Again, try not to post more than 1 time a day. Yeah, and you can post more than 1 time a day if the situation is right. You can post maybe 2 or 3 times if there's a certain event where that it warrants more than 1 post. But try not to on a regular basis. Nobody really wants to see 100 posts one day. It's not great for the algorithm either. Reels are super important. We kind of talked about this. So this can be anything from a behind the scenes or a day in the life of your artistry, things like that, to just get people engaged, make sure people are knowing what's going on in your world. Make sure to reply to comments and direct messages. We talked about that. Use shorter copy on Instagram versus Facebook. So try to keep it not super wordy. Facebook, you can get away with a little bit more. Instagram, people will just keep scrolling and won't read too much. Again, tag locations and featured businesses. Utilize stories. It increases engagement. Make sure to share relevant posts from other local artists or things that are relevant to you. For example, for my Woods Creek production business, I try to post once a day of something on my story, whether it's my own stuff or a friend's stuff or just funny things that are relevant to videography. I'll post memes every once in a while, and it's a fun time and just generates engagement. Yeah, highlights are another thing where you can save your stories in a highlights section, and then you can view the highlights later on. So it stays forever because stories go away after 24 hours. So the highlights keep it around a little bit, and you can categorize the highlights too into whatever you're looking for, like watercolor, any kind of art thing you're thinking. And then we will move on to TikTok. This one is fun, but frustrating. The algorithm is very interesting with TikTok, and it is all over the place. So you can get a video that you think is going to be the greatest video of all time, and it will get 4 likes. And then you can create a video with seemingly no relevant content or nothing interesting, and it gets 100,000 likes, and you're the next viral star. It's kind of hit or miss. What TikTok likes to do is they promote people who post as often as possible. So there are the big content creators are posting 10, 15 times a day. And this isn't hardly ever possible for the average individual. But posting as often as possible can really help out. And even if, like I was saying, even if it's not super high quality content, it can help. As long as it's relevant to you, it can work. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be 100% professional. Again, reply to comments and direct messages. You can use hashtags, very, very short copy, like a couple word copy for TikTok. And the hashtags don't, this is again kind of weird. Hashtags don't always have to necessarily be relevant to your video. It can be just whatever the most popular hashtags are at that particular time. That'll help boost the algorithm and boost your video. Again, tag locations of businesses. A few ideas for videos: a day in the life, behind the scenes, point of view of you creating art, your story, why you do what you do, any type of list or recommendations, stitches with other creators, which is basically using their video and then adding onto it with your own content. Those all are some fun ideas to kind of get started in the world of TikTok. And again, it's frustrating. It's not always perfect, but you just kind of got to roll with it and hope that something sticks at some point.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit like sometimes how Facebook used to be. And I remember it is frustrating. I think there's like you kind of have to have like a good mindset and consistency that you can lean into, because I remember I would put this really finished, polished work up and it would get like 11 likes. And then randomly I made a sketch at lunchtime and it got like 4,000 likes. And it was just outrageous how something that took me like 15 minutes just randomly was like 100 times more popular than something that took me 15 hours.
Exactly. For my video stuff, the videos that do the best for me are the videos I take with my phone on TikTok specifically. And then I create these cinematic videos using a expensive camera and they get nothing. So it's all over the place. It's fun, it's entertaining, but you got to just stay consistent, like you were saying. Some additional platforms to consider: YouTube. If you're creating video content, you might as well throw it up on YouTube. Pinterest can be good for artists as well, and X, or formerly Twitter, can be useful as well. We're gonna jump quickly into hashtags here. Using hashtags is very important and helps increase reach to users who may or may not already follow your account, and encourage them to use the same hashtag to spread the word. So on the right is an example of what I use. So Woods Creek Productions, again, this is me. I use kind of the same template for hashtags. If you can see at the bottom of that picture, I use a ton of hashtags. The max is 30, I believe, for Instagram. And again, for Instagram and Facebook, you want relevant content or relevant hashtags. So for me, video, cinematography, production, things of that nature, that's kind of what I'm looking for. You can use all sorts of different means to find hashtags. Honestly, if you just Google what hashtag should I use for this, for whatever content you're producing, it'll come up with a good amount for you. Or you can purchase a hashtag generator app, like the ones I kind of listed below. And that'll obviously get you a little bit further as well. But you don't necessarily have to pay for it. You can just Google it and they'll pump out some hashtags for you. Or what you can do is when you're scrolling, just kind of make notes of what hashtags relevant content producers are using. So like some of these I've found from other people, Explore Minnesota, North Shore, Creative, things like that. I found from other people and just added on to. And we're going to jump into a little bit of a social calendar here. So what we like to do at Swim and a lot of other content creators do this too is plan it out. So we like to use batch posting. We plan out about a month in advance what we're posting. And then using an app like Later, Buffer, Hootsuite, Tailwind, things like that, we can throw it all on there and then it'll post it at whatever times we want to post. Yeah, otherwise you can do it organically through an Excel spreadsheet as well. That's the picture on the right here is an example of what we would use just from a spreadsheet kind of standpoint. So we have the name or type of social post we're going to do, what social platform, a link if we're going to use a link, content pillar that we talked about earlier, like education, entertainment, inspiration, and then any other relevant content. So just building out an Excel form to help keep you organized is pretty important. And if you want an example or extra help with that, just you can let us know. And they're free too. The Excel's or the at least Google Sheets is free. Some of the third-party apps are free, but yeah, they cost money for you to really do anything. We're going to just briefly touch on paid social because it can get very complicated very quickly. Meta ads, so Facebook and Instagram ads, like you can see on the right here, they're pretty complicated, but you can get very pinpoint in who you're targeting. So there's advanced customized solutions here where you can basically pinpoint anyone. Like in my apartment building, for example, you could pinpoint people in my apartment or pinpoint people across the street, or specific demographics that are going to want your art or your product, whatever you're offering. And that's going to cost a little bit more for the most part. You can be minimalist about what you put in terms of cost, but it's really not going to get you too far. You have to kind of pay to play in this regard. And there's specific rules you need to abide by. For example, Instagram and Facebook, they only allow for 125 characters for a caption, and then even fewer characters for a headline and call to action button. But this, if you're willing to spend the money, this is the way to do it. It's like I said, it's going to cost money, but it will get you a return in hopefully whatever your call to action is, whether it's shop or go to an event or things like that. It'll increase engagement there. And hopefully lead to you closing deals. The less expensive, simpler way, and it can still be expensive, but at least the simpler way is through boosts, which boosting on Facebook and Instagram, it can be useful. So we've all probably seen it at some point where it says boost this post, and that's where you can throw an arbitrary amount of money, $5, $10, $15, whatever, into that post to boost it, which increases engagement, increases exposure, and can increase followers. So what that's doing is basically beating the algorithm. So your post is going to be at the top, or close to the top, depending on how much money you spend for however many days. And it's not going to take into account how many followers you have and how much engagement you have. Since you're paying for it, Instagram and Facebook and Meta in general is like, all right, we'll do it for you. You're going to give us money. We're going to help you out. So it'll put you kind of at the top of the list, and it will help you increase that exposure. All you have to do is define an audience, define your budget, and define how long you want the boost to be running. So it's pretty simple. You can throw as much money as you want. You can throw $1, you can throw $100 or more. But that's paid social. Again, it can get far more in depth. But for the sake of what we're doing today, this is kind of what paid social is all about. All right. One quick little activity or just thought a thing to keep people thinking more than anything. What I challenge people to do is scroll with a purpose. So we all get stuck in the mindset of going to bed, we're just gonna doom scroll for half an hour and then fall asleep. I challenge people to scroll with a purpose. So really look at each post, figure out what's doing well or what's not doing well. You can sometimes see like, oh, this post only has 3 likes or 5 likes, whatever. Why do I think it's not performing super well? You can, and then try to come up with that on your own. Or why is this post doing super well? Like what's making it so good? And sometimes that answer is money, unfortunately. Sometimes like, oh, this has 15,000 likes. Oh, that's because they're paying for it. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can create organic content that does well. That's how a lot of influencers and content creators started, is just producing content that was quality, that people liked, and just kept blowing up until they reach the top, and then they get their money deals, whatever. But it is definitely possible to do it organically. You just gotta be consistent and make sure you're producing quality content. All right, now we will open it up for a little bit of discussion.
Yeah, we did get we have someone on the call right now, and I did have a couple questions that were relayed to me to ask. So I guess I'll start with something. You were just talking about boosts and ads. So I was just going to share like a couple situations and I guess what you would recommend. I know it may be more detailed than that, but maybe you have a quick answer that or some way that you qualify whether it's better to boost or to go with the ad setup. So if I was like a cleaning business and I was trying to create content and videos to drive clients for a cleaning business, how would you handle that as far as like trying to get some of that paid content boost and reach?
It very much so depends on what the overall objective is. So I would assume the overall objective is to get the deal, close the deal, and obviously get new clients. If that's the case, I'd probably, if you have the budget for it, go with the meta ads. So the pay to play, the higher end ads. Don't just boost. Boosting is going to get you engagement. It's going to get more likes, more impressions on your site, probably more followers, but it won't necessarily get you to the point of closing the deal. If you truly want to gain clients, it's probably a better option to go with the meta ads.
I would also say from a content standpoint too, is like, say if this example is of a cleaning service, I think sometimes even giving some of the some pointers along the way, not necessarily given the whole recipe, but a few ingredients, if you will, of what you do and how you do it. It's because there's many times that people will be looking up like, how do I do this? Or or for artists, how do I use this product, or how do I, and that can create a lot of engagement with that. People will want to look up and will find you on just on Google searches as well. So just thinking about what and getting that out to people as purposes for education.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, for these posts, because the boost and the ad, they're both still posts technically, even though they are ads. It still needs to be a high quality post. Like you can't just take a random post and boost it and expect it to do phenomenally. It could potentially, but for the most part, you still want that high quality content. So making sure we're sticking with the 4 pillars, making sure it's entertaining, inspiring, anything like that. Just make sure it is those things before you throw money at it, because if it's just a post that means nothing, it's still going to mean nothing even if you throw money at it.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I have one actually. I got here a little bit late, but did you go over Facebook, like kind of the guide to posting on Facebook and building on there?
Yes, give me one moment, I'll scroll back.
Okay, cool, thanks.
There's a specific slide on Facebook, but do you have any like
Okay.
specific
Oops.
questions about it?
No, your slides actually really help a lot. Because one thing I was trying to figure out is like how much I should be posting and things like that as far as like building a following. But I guess one thing I would ask is if there's like certain times or certain days that would be better to post at.
That's a very good question.
Mhm.
You can find that information through sites like HubSpot
Okay.
and things like that. So it depends on what you're posting. There's gonna be different options for different products or art or whatever. In
Mhm.
general, for a general standpoint, um, for art, I would generally say weekends are pretty important. Otherwise,
Okay.
after working hours during the week,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
because
But not Fridays. Fridays are historically really bad for for
yep,
posting.
Really?
Yeah, because people are they don't necessarily want to be near a computer. They want to be out doing stuff. So it's and
Oh,
so
okay. Okay.
Saturdays is when they have a little more time to do a little scrolling.
Yeah.
But people
Okay.
generally want to be very social on Fridays. But
I
Okay.
weekends are very good, and also Mondays and Tuesdays are good when people like don't really want to get into their workday too fast. So
I was gonna
Okay.
say
Okay.
I've had the best luck on Tuesdays typically.
Really? Okay.
Yep, we
Um,
always have a rule to never launch a website on a Friday, is because you'll
yeah.
never get any engagement. So
And sometimes
Okay.
there's fun little spikes around noon when people go to lunch, but
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
for the most part, after hours.
Yeah, there is a
Okay.
lot of data out there that can show you exactly which days and which times of day too are the best to show. Because even like right away in the morning at 8 a.m. When people are just before they can get into
Yeah.
a really good time, or right at the end of their workday, there's so it's just finding those little times too is really important.
Yeah. Okay.
So kind oh yeah, you can go
Let's see.
ahead if you had wanted to add to that question. Just wanted to ask another one here.
Um, does it always have to be exactly related to your art? Because I kind of had the idea of just keeping like my social medias as far as for my business, like updated and fun and stuff like that, of like posting memes or like other little random things like that. Or would you recommend just keeping it strictly about like your business?
No, not necessarily. I mean, by having more than just your art, people get to know your personality, and especially for artists, that's really important. Is that
Mhm.
people want to know the person as well. And so they can have us when they buy your art, they also have a story behind it. And maybe they'll have a little more understanding of why you created what you did. And so I would,
Okay.
you want to be on brand though, I think is the key thing. So you don't want to be too random, but you want
Okay.
to,
Yeah.
still be in line with what your values are as a person. So
Okay. Okay.
And that's
Cool. Thanks.
really shifted in the last probably 5 to 7 years or so. It used to be businesses had to stick with business on social media, but now it's
Yeah.
not always the
mhm.
case. Like you look at even the huge corporations like Wendy's or whatever, they're posting like they're tweeting and posting
Yeah.
on just all sorts of stuff. So obviously stick within your brands, especially for if you're a smaller business, it'll help to stick within your brand, but you can have a little more leeway than you could have a while ago.
Yeah, because I think the
Yeah.
important thing for artists too is that you have an opinion. You have a stance on things, and so it's like it's good to
Yep.
share that no matter what it is, even if it is with not with your art or but it's
Okay.
just doing it in an engaging way. So
Okay. Yeah, I have so right now it's more of a small business, but I built like a logo and I've built kind of like a theme for it, I guess. So and I've tried to be consistent like across all of my platforms. So like my logo specifically is like this solid gray background with the writing and my little it's like a little strawberry, but it's made with a diamond actually. So like on my website, I made my website the same exact gray as like the logo. And then on a lot of my socials and stuff, like I've tried to use the same exact colors and stuff like that just to kind of get that idea going. But eventually I'm hoping to grow into something bigger. So is there anything like have you heard of like Supreme, the brand Supreme? It's like a skateboarding brand and things like that. And I think there's more even. There's like Obey and other ones. That was kind of the idea I actually had for my business going into it. And so I've tried to stick along those lines. But I guess, is there anything you would recommend for like a smaller business-ish, but that's like hoping to become more big like that?
I mean, I think the main thing is just, baby steps, but have that big vision in mind. Always keep, stick with it.
Yeah,
Just it's
don't steer too far away.
yeah, don't steer too far away, but it's like it's one of those things. It's like one day you'll look back and go, wait a minute, I really went a long way. So it's like you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
realize it. There'll never be that aha moment where it's like, wow, I really, hit it big. It's like you'll just kind of take a look back once at, on your journey and go, oh wow, I did really, make something out of this. So I mean, that's
yeah,
just in general some advice, in general. But as far as a brand goes, it's just having just a vision of where you want to go,
yeah.
and just have a plan to get there. Is
Okay.
really important. Uh, and just one little step at a time. And you can get there.
Would you, because this is just one idea I had as far as like marketing too. So it's like a native brand is what it is. Do you guys know what Crocs are, like the shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how you can buy the little charms to decorate them, gibbets?
Hmm.
I actually design native ones.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I had like thought about it. And I think I had seen someone that had like Black Lives Matter charms on theirs one time, and then I kind of just sat back and I realized like I've never seen native ones. Like native,
Hmm.
we don't have any charms of our own like we could. So
Hmm.
I did it. And then I actually at some point along the way realized like I own the design, so I can really do whatever. So I did vinyl stickers with all of my designs too
Oh,
because I know
nice.
people love them for like water bottles and stuff like that. And it's
Hmm.
been pretty successful so far, actually.
Yep. I'm
I
not
only started
surprised.
selling, what'd you say?
I'm not surprised. Both of those are
Oh,
very popular right now.
yeah, yeah. And I've met a lot of really cool people along the way. I only started in June,
Mhm.
but I've made like a lot of money so far, and I've gotten to travel a lot of places and stuff.
Nice.
Um, I was gonna ask a question and I had to explain first, but now I can't remember. But I know Jesse had a question. So
Yeah,
I'll let Jesse go before I now think of my question and ask later.
yeah. I had a question that would pertain to a lot of artists that go to some of these like craft fairs and comic conventions and other stuff and sell their art at stuff like that. So I've noticed some artists say that they really enjoy those events and they go to them and they have a really great time and they sell a lot of their wares and their artwork. But they kind of, when it comes to social media and online, they kind of put their hands up like, I don't even know where to start. So how does like a creator or a brand leverage like that success and that goodwill that they have at live events? Um,
Mhm.
how would you advise an artist start that journey? Because it sounds scary to a lot of artists because it's totally different. But how
Mhm.
to leverage that live event success and into social media?
Absolutely. What I think that is actually a great time to start that, because when you're at these live events, you're meeting people all the time. And actually one of the best ways for you to get traction for social media is to interact with the people you meet and on their social medias and comment on what they're doing, and then hope that they can then follow you back. And so you're starting creating some of this community. Another thing you can do is even just posting, behind the scenes, or different things that you did that you found interesting at these live events, or maybe you're, even highlighting other people, other booths that are at the event, and then tagging them, and then hopefully they come back and take a photo and they tag you. So that's these live events are very good ways of starting actually a perfect time to get it jump started.
Yep,
It's
I
a
would agree with that. Just making those connections, that's a huge thing. If you stumble upon somebody at an event that lo and behold they have 300,000 followers, and you interact with them, and they agree to post some of your stuff, that's very, very helpful in getting started. That doesn't happen all the time, by the way, so don't expect that.
That was actually my question. Yeah, so that's my little like brand. That's kind of what I do. And today actually there's like a lot of different native influencers or influencers online that have like lots and lots of followers.
Mhm.
One idea I had as far as marketing was to maybe like send them some of my stuff and then have them like take pictures of it and post it online and tag me. Have you guys had any experience with that type of stuff?
What I would do is don't just do it like out of the blue, because if they'll just get out of the blue, they'll be like, oh, what is, this? So you do want to,
Yeah.
start by commenting on their social
Oh,
medias.
okay.
Start there, and then after a couple months, if they start having a couple replies back, then you can maybe send them a note saying, hey, I love your stuff, or,
Hmm.
send a few compliments, and then maybe then a note the next time out, hey, do you mind if I send you this and you can post it on there? Then be like, oh yeah, I can do that, but I wouldn't do it cold, but I would, at least start to warm up
Kind
those.
of build up to it and stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. All right.
And like Dave was saying too, this takes time. It's not going to happen overnight
Yeah,
necessarily. The
definitely.
dream is that it happens overnight, but
Yeah.
it's going to take time and persistence, and to get things kind of started.
Okay. Um, so I saw you had talked about Instagram, Facebook, and then TikTok. Did you go over any other social medias?
I briefly touched on YouTube,
Yep.
Twitter or X, and Pinterest as well.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Did
there's other
you
social media platforms that could be used. Those are just some of the more popular ones.
do you have
Okay,
any tips for like Snapchat?
Um, I've seldom used Snapchat for
Oh,
marketing.
okay.
It can be done though. I don't know if David has any experience
Yeah,
with
that one is
that.
always that's the elusive one. That
Oh,
it
okay.
is it does have such a short lifespan, but I think that
Yeah.
there is a ton of opportunity, especially once you have these relationships developed.
Hmm.
It's I think that once you have those going on, then you're able to do that a little more. But the fact that it does have such a short shelf life makes it a little more difficult to get out there. So it is very relationship based.
Okay.
I would stick with Facebook, Instagram, and probably TikTok to start. And
Okay.
then you can start branching off into other things as well. Maybe Pinterest, depending on what you want to do.
Mhm.
But those are kind of the main ones that everybody essentially is on. And that's a good place to start. And then you can kind of expand from there.
Yeah, my
Okay.
my daughter's a budding artist too. She's just getting started, but I know she's even on Discord, in communities on Discord, just to sharing her work with people on there too. So it's a lot of just kind of sharing it back and forth with people. It's really what it is at this point. It's you know, she'll even get into different they call them art wars. I don't know if you've ever been part of those, but it's really fun where it's so you'll start a piece of art, but then somebody will take that as inspiration and like, what's their interpretation of it? And it's like a full month. All these artists it's kind of play off of one another, and just it started. Each person has their own starting point, but it all kind of it keeps evolving. And it's just really fun to watch the community of it going. So
yeah,
Okay.
we're in October right now, and there was an artist and graphic novelist who started the Inktober hashtag.
yep, that's it.
Everyone got involved drawing a prompt, and they set the prompt every year, and millions of artists get in on this. So
Hmm.
I think that's a really great way to look at how an artist leveraged like a community project per se. Everyone's doing their own thing, but it was kind of one project per se, and really use that to boost their reach, and to really have a larger platform and larger audience to share his graphic novels and comics with.
Yep, and my daughter's on that Inktober too. It's a fun to see everyone's creations during that time.
So I just wanted to share one more time that as part of this series, we do offer one-on-one sessions as well. So something to keep in mind is I can reach out to you, Keela, and we can set something up where you can take advantage of that one-on-one time too if you have more specific questions and stuff. So just wanted to let you know that that's an option. So we're kind of getting close to the end of our time here. I really appreciate all of the information you passed along, and it's really nice to have these in-depth visual decks of slideshow to really take notes with. So in closing, I guess any closing thoughts from you that you might have, David or Jordan, for any of the creators that might be watching this on YouTube right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just, being authentic, being yourself, and just, have fun with it too. And this is a really fun opportunity. And I think another thing, a thought that came to mind too is recently I was having a conversation with Christina and Aurora at the Art Institute, and we were talking about how there's a lot of people who want to get into art, but might be intimidated. And what actually gets them inspired is actually seeing artists who maybe don't do their best work, and maybe it's like they show a few times that they've screwed up a few times. And I think that's a big part of art, is being able to inspire others. And I think especially for those who may be a little more established, if you can show the not so perfect times, it's just as valuable as the perfect items as well. So I thought that was a really fun discussion I had with them.
Yeah, kind of going off of that too, for social media, you don't have to post it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like David said, it's you can post the stuff that doesn't always go right. It's people want to see that. People want to experience like, oh, this person is human. They make mistakes just like I do, and they're still successful. So it just goes to show that anybody can be successful. You just got to be persistent, stay on things. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to do this. This was super, super fun. And yeah, if you need anything from us, just let us know.
Absolutely, and we'll have your link and everything when we post this. So again, I thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for everyone for following us, and keep an eye out on our page, because we like to do these online professional development sessions. It's a really great the Zoom platform is a really great place to kind of really sharpen your pencils and start taking notes and developing questions and really getting in deep with these concepts. So again, if you have in the future when we put on professional development series programming, go ahead and go to duluthartinstitute.org, and under our class and events tab, you'll see our entire calendar. So thank you, and I will make sure that all of this gets shared, and so everyone can enjoy it and have some of the content that you guys shared with us today. So I appreciate your time, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.